Hey guys, so today I'm here to do my January wrap-up. So in January I read 11 books and it was actually sort of a weird reading month because I didn't give one novel that I read 5 stars, and I feel like every month in 2018 I gave at least one novel 5 stars. So yeah, that's sort of interesting, but I did read some amazing graphic novels slash manga and stuff like that, and I did read some good books as well, so I'm excited to talk about them. And I also read probably my least favourite book of all time. Actually no, I don't know why I said probably. It is my least favourite book of all time, which you might already know about if you watch my vlogs, but yeah, so that was read in January and can't wait to get rid of it after this video. But yeah, so let's just get into it. Okay, so the first book that I read was Check Please Book 1. So this actually started out as a webcomic and they published the physical form, and there's only going to be 2 volumes, which is really sad. So this is the first half of the webcomic and then they're gonna come out with the second half of the webcomic. So it basically follows Biddy, who leaves home to go to college and play hockey. He used to be a former ice skating champion, but he struggles a lot with hockey and he definitely has a lot to learn. He's also gay, but he hasn't come out yet, and he loves baking, as you can see from that little pie, and he is a vlogger. I've never read a book where the main character is a vlogger. Actually, no, I have. Queens of Geek, but this one was just so fun because you saw him vlogging and he would be like, hey guys, Biddy here. Sometimes he'd be filming and his mom's like, who are you talking to? He's like, I'm talking to the camera, mom. It was just so funny and I loved Biddy as a main character. He's like the definition of a cinnamon roll. He is everything. So my favourite thing about this was definitely just Biddy himself. I don't know if this is a spoiler, hopefully it's not, but when he tries to come out to one of his friends, he literally prepares palm cards. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, me. Like, I just loved Biddy so much. And there's also this really cute, like, slow burn romance happening. It's really adorable and I loved some of the friendships, and yeah, there are so many good moments in this. I did give this 4 stars. I did find some bits to be slightly boring because they do go into hockey quite a bit, and I just found some of it a bit boring just for me personally, but overall I loved this so much and I definitely can't wait for the second half to be published in the physical form so I can read it and hopefully love it. But yeah, so definitely check this out if it sounds like something that you'd be into. Yeah, I just loved this so much and it was such a good start to my reading year. The next book that I read was The Golden Tower by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black, and this is the 5th and final book in the Magisterium series. So this is a middle grade series set at a magical boarding school, and this whole series has slight Harry Potter vibes and slight Avatar The Last Airbender vibes. I'm saying slight because I don't want you to get your hopes too high because I know that sounds amazing, but it does definitely have elements from those stories because set at a magical boarding school, we follow like a trio where there's like 2 boys and a girl, and it also has Avatar vibes because it uses elemental magic. So yeah, this whole series has been so fun. I have been reading it since 2017, I think. The 5th book has finally come out. I really enjoyed it. Jokes, I didn't. I don't know why I said that. No, well, I did enjoy it, but I didn't really enjoy it. I ended up giving it a 3 stars. I did think it was a little bit underwhelming because this is the final book in a series, so I was expecting, you know, it to be super action-packed and kind of blow my mind and stuff. Well, I didn't have too high expectations, but it just, yeah, I don't know, it just felt like, oh, okay, well, that's the end. And sometimes the villain in this story made me laugh, like not in a good way, like I was kind of like laughing at how ridiculous the villain was at times. But this was still really enjoyable and I listened to this on audiobook and I really enjoy the audiobooks for this series. So yeah, it was still a good time, but it was just, yeah, a little underwhelming. My favourite in the series was definitely the 4th book, so this definitely didn't live up to the 4th book, but it was still a good time, and yeah, I guess it's over now. So the next book that I read was Waiting for Spring Volume 1 by Anna Shin, and I adored this. This is basically a basketball manga, and if you didn't know, I love basketball. I'm literally playing it tonight. I play it every week. I love it so much, so this was so fun for me. It's basically about this girl who becomes friends with 4 of the most popular guys in school who are on the basketball team, and it's just really fun and there are some really cute moments in here and I really love the main character, and I'm just so excited to see where the series goes because I just know it's going to be so cute. And I really love the art and the group dynamics and stuff, so yes, this was such a fun time. Like I said, I can't wait to continue, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was The Lost Sisters by Holly Black, and this is 1.5 in the Folk of the Air series. So this is a companion novella and you're supposed to read it after The Cruel Prince and before The Wicked King, but I definitely wouldn't say it's necessary. But if you are a huge fan of the series, then I still would recommend it. It's basically a novella told from Taryn's perspective, who is a character in The Cruel Prince. It's basically the events that happen in doing the Cruel Prince told from her perspective. It's really interesting to see her perspective even though she still sucks, no offense. And I just loved the Cruel Prince so much, so I definitely had a good time reading this even though there were some frustrating characters. And I just love Holly Black's writing and stuff, so this was really quick to read as well because I think it was only like 50 pages or so. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of the series, but it's definitely not necessary. But yeah, I'm happy I read it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I don't know if you just heard this copy girl. So the next book that I read was actually a poetry collection, and that was Yellow by Chelsea Hui. And Chelsea is actually a booktuber. She hasn't made videos in a couple months, but she told me that she plans to come back, and I really hope she does because I really love her videos and her as a person. She's just so cool. So I'll link her channel down below, but she came out with her first poetry collection and she asked me if she could send me one, and of course I said yes because I was so excited about it. And I'm just going to read the back so you know what this is all about. So it says, "These poems are a love letter to my culture, my heart bound between pages. A message from one dreamer to another. They are the aching, the cleansing, the remembering, the loving. They are my hopes that you will find whatever it is you need within these pages in order to continue on with your own journey." I just love that so much, and this definitely had some amazing poems and some really powerful poems that really resonated with me specifically because I could relate to a lot of the poems, and I just thought it was so well done. And I really appreciate that at the beginning she has written trigger warnings. So the trigger warnings are racism, sexism, and sexual assault, and at the top of each poem she includes the relevant trigger warnings. So if you want to avoid those ones with specific trigger warnings, you can. So I think that's really amazing. But yes, so I loved this. I also loved the illustrations that accompanied the poems. So I definitely recommend this if you're into feminist, modern poetry. And yeah, I just really loved it, and you could really tell that these words came from Chelsea's heart. So yeah, I loved this a lot, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. So next I read Full Metal Alchemist Volume 1. So I actually started watching the anime last year and I've been slowly making my way through it, but I decided that I'm going to pause watching the anime until I'm caught up with the manga. I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So yeah, now I'm reading the manga and it is very similar to the anime, which is really satisfying. I'm just so glad that I decided to do that because it is just so good. I loved the anime already, but I just have a deeper appreciation. I don't know why. And this is the stunning Full Metal edition. I saw this on Natalie from Pages and Panels Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, I need that. Because it's just so pretty. And yeah, I just love stories revolving around alchemy, and as you can see from the title, this series heavily involves alchemy, and this follows the Ulrich brothers, Ed and Al, and they lose their mother at a young age, and because of that they decide to delve into one of the taboos of alchemy, and that is bringing a dead person to life. And as a result, Ed loses an arm and a leg, and Al loses his entire body, and he's just a soul living in this body of living steel. So it's very dark, it definitely has a lot of violence, and there are some traumatizing scenes, so it's definitely not for everyone, but I personally find it so interesting and complex, and I just love the brotherly bond between Ed and Al, and yeah, I love this series a lot. So I'm so excited to continue on reading the manga and watching the anime. But yeah, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it so much. Okay, so the next book that I read, I am really not bothered to talk about, but that is Tiger Lily by Jodie Lynn Anderson. So yeah, this is like my least favorite book of all time. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts and I could honestly make a whole rant review about this book, and I was actually thinking of doing that, but I feel like I'm just not good at rant reviews because if I get angry I can't be eloquent. I'm just angry and I can't convey my thoughts properly. So I'm just gonna give some quick thoughts as to why I really hated this book. But first I'll just start with a synopsis. It's basically a Peter Pan retelling, and it's a love story between Tiger Lily and Peter Pan, told from the perspective of Tinkerbell. So I was so excited about this. This was on my top 19 books to read in 2019 and I thought I was going to love it. Yeah, that didn't happen. I just found this book to have a lot of problems, like it was really sexist. I feel like it was also kind of racist, and I have read some reviews that this book was supposed to be those things and Jodie Lynn Anderson was trying to tackle them, and it was okay, I don't know. I really don't know, but I did not think that it was challenged. Well, it was challenged sometimes, but definitely not enough, and overall the messages that I got while reading this were not good. Maybe other readers have had a different reading experience, but yeah, like I said, just for me personally, I didn't think it was challenged enough, and I'm fine with having problematic content in books if that content is challenged and explicitly said you shouldn't think that way, you shouldn't say these things, stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, that didn't really happen, only like once or twice, and it was really subtle. Definitely not enough to the see, I can't even talk, like okay, so yeah, I was very angry reading this book. As you can see, I have so many green tabs. I've never had solely green tabs for a book before, and there is one pebble tab, which means, oh by the way, green tabs means angry. But there is one purple tab that means funny, but that was me laughing at how ridiculous this one thing was. I gave some quote examples in my reading vlog where I read this book, so I'll link that up here if you want to watch it. But I will read just a few. You have hairy arms. Girls aren't supposed to. I don't see why, if a girl was going to visit, she couldn't be a girl with some curves. I thought you were a girl at first, but you're too strong. Okay, I'm gonna stop now before I get too angry. But yeah, this book this was the first book I ever gave 1 star in my entire life, and I just really didn't like it. And like I said, maybe Jodie Lynn Anderson was trying to make a point, or she was trying to convey something that I just didn't get, but I just didn't get that from reading this book, and it wasn't enjoyable at all. And aside from the issues that I had with this book, like problematic content, I also think that the writing was just really messy, and I don't understand what the purpose of Tinkerbell's perspective was. Why was it told from Tinkerbell's perspective? I feel like it just sounds cool, but there wasn't really a point. The characterization was also really lacking. None of the characters were that developed. They were quite bland, and also massive insta-love. The romance was definitely not something that I cared for. A lot of it just didn't make sense. Like some of the lines, I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, it was just so confusing and weird, and didn't like it, and made me angry. So yeah, this was a 1 star for me. I'm surprised I didn't DNF it. I wanted to, but I just ended up finishing it because I needed to see if it was gonna get better, and it didn't. So yeah, 1 star. I'm really sad about it. Okay, so the next book that I read was History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, and I was so excited to read this. I read 2 Adam Silvera books before. I read They Both Die at the End and What If It's Us, which is his co-written book with Becky Albertalli. Loved What If It's Us. I didn't love They Both Die at the End. I gave it 3 stars, so I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it as much as a lot of other people do. And a lot of people say that this is their favourite Adam Silvera book, so I thought I was gonna love it. And again, I didn't love it. I did enjoy it. I definitely didn't hate it, but yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I think Adam Silvera just isn't for me. But yeah, anyway, so if you didn't know, we basically follow Griffin, and Griffin has recently lost his ex-boyfriend Theo to a drowning accident. So he's obviously dealing with a lot of heartbreak, and he's grieving the loss of his ex-boyfriend, and he finds that the only person who truly understands his heartbreak is Jackson, who was Theo's boyfriend after Griffin. And this is told in 2 timelines, so we have present day and we have history. So in the history chapters, it just shows the relationship between Theo and Griffin, and I actually really enjoyed that method of storytelling. But yeah, like I said, I didn't love it. I just feel like I can't really connect to Adam Silvera's books. Maybe that is not for me because the writing style just doesn't 100% click with me. It's very simple, so I'm not like super captivated, and I just feel like I'm never super connected to the characters, with the exception of What If It's Us, like I said. I don't know, like I do like the characters and I like the characteristics and stuff, but I just can't explain why I can't 100% connect to the level that I want to. So I can't get super invested into the stories, and I just didn't really feel that sad, which makes me feel like a monster or something, because obviously it's a really sad book, like the premise and everything. But yeah, I just didn't really feel sad. I didn't cry. So I'm sad I didn't love this, but I can definitely see why a lot of people love it. And if it sounds interesting to you, I definitely would still recommend it, because I can definitely tell that it's a good book and that a lot of people can gain a lot from it and connect with it. But yeah, I just don't think it was for me, even though, like I said, 3 stars. I still enjoyed it. One of my favorite things was actually the OCD rep, because this is own voices for the OCD rep, because Adam Silvera himself has OCD. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. If you think that I'd like another one of his books more than this, and They Both Die at the End, then please let me know. But yeah, so this was a 3 out of 5 stars for me. Slightly disappointing just because I thought I was gonna love it and get my heart broken, but yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so I'm super excited to talk about this next book because I loved it. So yeah, you already saw it, Fence. Fence Volume 1 by C.S. Picat. So I picked this up because I went to Books Kinokuniya, and my friend Mia and I picked this up together, and then we read it at the bookstore. It was so much fun and we both loved it. It's basically an LGBT+ graphic novel, and it obviously involves fencing, and it's set at an all-boys boarding school where a lot of the boys are trying out to be in the fencing team, competing for an open spot. And Nicolas Cage, our main Nicolas Cage? Not Nicolas Cage. Nicholas Cox. That's hilarious. Nicholas Cox, our main character, is determined to win a spot on the fencing team and prove himself in the world of competitive fencing. I don't know why I pointed to this person when I said Nicholas, because this isn't Nicholas. This is Seiji. But yeah, so Nicholas faces a major challenge when he has to compete against Seiji, who is unbeatable. It has a really cool hate to love romance brewing. It hasn't happened yet in this volume, but I'm really excited for it. I'm already shipping it. I love the characters so much already, and I loved learning about fencing. I didn't really know much about fencing before reading this, and like I said with Check Please, I was kind of bored while reading the hockey bits. I was not bored at all reading the fencing bits. Like, I wanted to learn all the terminology and the different moves and everything. So yeah, I loved that aspect, and yeah, like I said, I loved the characters. We have some really diverse characters in here. I love the art style as well. So yeah, it was just so much fun and I loved it, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I bought volume 2. I can't wait to read that, but I'm trying to pace myself because volume 3 is coming out in August. But yeah, so I love this series so much. Well, I've only read the first one, but I expect I'm going to love volume 2 as well. Yes, I just love it. I love it so much. So the next book that I read was one of my most anticipated releases, The Wicked King by Holly Black. So this is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, and The Cruel Prince was on my best books of 2018 video. I loved The Cruel Prince. It was so captivating. I was so sucked into the world, and I found the characters so interesting. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So I was super excited to read The Wicked King, especially because we have a huge cliffhanger ending in The Cruel Prince. But unfortunately, I was a little bit disappointed with this one. I still really enjoyed it, but I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I just found it a little bit underwhelming. I definitely didn't love it as much as The Cruel Prince. Yeah, I don't know, obviously it's different. This is obviously a different book, but it just felt, I don't know, it just felt too different. Like, I didn't love the direction that it was going in. It was definitely captivating and interesting, but I definitely didn't care as much as I did when I was reading The Cruel Prince. I feel like there's more of a focus on the romance, which I don't really care about. One of my favourite things about reading The Cruel Prince was all the descriptions of the world of the Fae, and those descriptions were definitely lacking in this book, and was more focused on, I think it's called the Undersea, so that's like where the mermaids live and stuff, which you'd think that I'd love, and I did like it, but I don't know, I just didn't fully connect with it. I feel like the political intrigue wasn't as cool in this book. Like, the first book I was like, oh my gosh, like so much happening. And the ending, everyone says how this has a massive cliffhanger ending, but I was just like, oh, okay. And I didn't feel really shocked. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion because I know that a lot of people love this book and some people love it even more than The Cruel Prince, but for me, it's definitely the opposite. I'm definitely still excited for the third and final book in the series. I definitely didn't hate this book, but I just didn't love it like I loved The Cruel Prince. So yeah, that's that. A little bit sad, but whatever. I'm still excited for the third one. Okay, so the final book that I read in January was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Camera. This is the arc, so it's super shiny, but I'm just gonna face it this way. Actually, maybe I should just not hold it. I'll put the actual book cover up because this always messes with my lighting. But yeah, this is the art copy Bloomsbury sent this to me, and I'm so thankful for it because I loved it. So this is basically a dark retelling of So this is basically a dark retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and the main character has cerebral palsy, so I really appreciated that. I love when we have disability rep or mental health rep or anything like that in fantasy, and this is really cool because it's like a mix of urban and high fantasy because it's set in our world, like our contemporary world, but there's the world of Emberfall, which is where the Beast lives, and to get there you have to go through this portal thing. So yeah, it's like a really cool mix, and I really loved the characters. I really loved Harper, the main character. She's the one who has cerebral palsy and her mother has cancer, so she's really annoyed when she's whisked away to the world of Emberfall, but I just really loved her. She was such a badass, but not in like a annoying way, like not in the typical female badass where they don't have emotions sort of thing. Yeah, I loved her so much, and I realized that I'm sort of picky when it comes to Beauty and the Beast retellings because I feel like it can quickly become insta-love. I actually really enjoyed the romance, which Ren is like the Beast. He is definitely standoffish, kind of cold, a little bit arrogant, which is not usually the type of character I'm into. I feel like I'm over that kind of guy in fiction, but I actually really liked him. So I actually really liked the romance in this book, and I loved the political intrigue. I wasn't expecting it to be so unique because obviously it's a retelling, but it's just a really fresh retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it definitely has so many new elements that come into it, and there's this whole new world that Bridget Camera has built, and yeah, I really loved it. And I really loved one of the characters. I think his name was Gray, and even though this book is quite big, I think it's like 500 pages, nearly 500 pages, I really flew through it. I read it in like 3 days because it was so captivating. I will say at the beginning it did take me a bit to get into, maybe 50 or so pages because I was adapting to the writing style, but yeah, and there was also this super interesting villain, and the ending was like... So I'm super excited for the next one because this is actually the first in a series, so there is going to be a sequel. So I'm super excited for that. But yes, so I'm so happy I read this. It's out now, so you can go get it and read it if you want to. But yes, this was one of my most anticipated releases of the year, so I'm so happy it didn't disappoint. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and I really loved it. Okay, so that is my January wrap up. So yeah, definitely a little bit of an interesting reading month, but I did read some really good books, and I would love to know what you read in January or your thoughts on any of these books. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are having a good day or night, and I'll see you in my next one.